Good morning. My name's Vanessa Rose, and today I thought I would do a little chat about my health journey and my story so that people can understand where I've come from and why I am qualified and passionate about doing this work. So it's a long journey, and there's a lot of history there, which I am not going to go into great detail about because it's not that interesting to everybody. But suffice to say, I grew up feeling so disconnected in my body all the time. I was heavy and I was dense energy, and I held a lot of anger, and I had a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of trauma that happened in my life that I internalized and repressed. I did not grow up in a family that was very conscious or aware, and so much of what happened in my life was internalized, and which is the worst thing that you can ever do, is to internalize your pain and your suffering. And I have been to the depths of despair and a living hell with my body, of my own creation. It's not that my body was doing it to me. It was a combination of a lot of things. And to be honest, all I wanted my whole life was to be beautiful and slim. It was like a obsession, and because I wasn't an attractive child, and I wasn't what anyone would call attractive little girl or even teenager, and it was very difficult. And also growing up with a different skin colour in Australia was also not an easy thing. So I have traversed a path of many challenges in this body, and I tried everything. I'm talking everything. I'm talking surgeries, plastic surgeries. I'm talking organs that I was convinced that I didn't need that were removed. I have been all over the world to weight loss experts, and I lived in a nudist colony because I wanted to accept my body and in the skin I was in. I went to Miami and did a really dangerous fasting on liquids through a doctor because I was so desperate to lose weight. I have had more psychology and counselling and done so many courses in body acceptance and love and health and so many things that became an obsession with me. My body was just never the way I wanted it to be. And as I said, I never felt beautiful and I never felt free. And to feel beautiful and free and empowered and good every time I woke up were the things that I really wanted. And I just remember after I would eat, I would always lay on a chair because I always felt such like the food didn't agree with me, and I never understood. No one ever told me. I never investigated that sort of stuff. My mum, she did the best she could. Remember she took me to a naturopath when I was, 14, I think, because I didn't want to go to a doctor. She took me to psychologists and counsellors and psychiatrists and you name it. She couldn't work out what was wrong with me. But I lived with this profound view that there was something wrong with me. And when you have a view that there's something wrong with you, it's very hard to fix it because you're coming from an energy of there's something wrong. And so I lived with, there's something wrong with me. And then everything would reiterate to me that there is something wrong with you. Yes, let's remove your ovary because there's something wrong with you. Let's remove your gallbladder. Yes, there's something wrong with you. You should do this with your breasts or your thighs or your hips or your whatever. So I outsourced all the decisions for my health and body to doctors and professionals, and to be honest, it was a deeply distressing time in my life. And I'm talking about the majority of my life that I felt that way. And there wasn't one thing that I did that just miraculously changed everything. I started doing detox and fasting more than 30 years ago. I used to go to health retreats when people used to laugh at me. I used to do water fasting and juice fasting from when I was 18 years old, and people would always think that I was, into voodoo and, woo-woo, and they used to think that I was damaging my kidneys and my colon, and because I was doing colonics, back when it's very hard to find places that would do any of those things. Anyway, I've always been desperately trying to find it, and for a really long time trying to find what was wrong with me. But some years ago, and I can't remember, I've always been interested in self-help. It's been, I guess, more than 30 years involved in that sort of world as well. And so I was always trying to, work out what was wrong with me from that level, and the self-help level. And I remember starting to study a course in psychology. I first started off doing the psychology of eating. So we would work with people. Well, I went there to help heal myself of my own eating disorder. But I then went on to work as an eating psychologist. And it was such an opening to me that my mindset, my words, and my focus and everything that was coming from the mental part of me was so heavily involved in the size of my body, in my experience of life, how much I enjoyed food, whether I enjoyed food, what I chose, what I ate, how much I moved my body. My mind was the most powerful thing when it came to that. And so that was a real opening to understand that I had the body that I was choosing because of my actions, my thoughts, and my words. So that was a really pivotal thing, was to start studying the psychology of eating and to understand how powerful my psychology was. And then I went into traditional psychology, which was, it opened up even more, not just about sort of the psychology of eating, but it opened up a lot more about the depth and the complexity of the human mind. And from there, I went into transpersonal psychology, which is spiritual psychology. And so I understood more about my soul's contribution or part in the whole thing. It was not just the mind, there's also a spiritual side to it. And that opened up another layer. And then so there was the mental, and then there was the spiritual. And from there, I went into a field called regenerative health, regenerative health is all about root cause, finding the root cause of all illness, because if you can't find the root cause, you can't truly heal. I studied for over 4 years with different mentors, 3 different courses, certifications in regenerative health, and that then made the physical part of it really clear. The fact that my endocrine system needed work, my gut health needed work, my liver and my kidneys, and I was requiring a lot of detox and that then radically shifted my body, like radically. I was able to lose about 20 kilos, stop smoking, get rid of lifelong psoriasis. So the physical side then was heavily involved in botanical medicine, iridology, and not just supplementation, but some supplementation, but really understanding the systems of the body. So that the regenerative health as a part of the physical side of it. So I had the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And then the physical, emotional. And then I was really able to understand myself much more deeply. I've studied the tarot, Western and Chinese astrology for many, many years. I trained as a medical intuitive, and all of that part opened up the cosmic side of it. So we are cosmic beings. We're made of stardust, and to understand the cosmic part of us gave me an even deeper understanding of the complexity of being a human being, but also helping me to create an entirely new relationship with my body, my weight, my health, everything. It transformed radically. And now that's what I do with other people. So I work with people with all sorts of things: Parkinson's, MS, all sorts of autoimmune illnesses, obesity, eating disorders, chronic fatigue, mold poisoning, Lyme, all sorts of toxicity, heavy metal poisoning, gosh, you name it. There's just Crohn's disease, which is an autoimmune. But I could only be a fantastic mentor or guide for other people because I have walked the path before. There's so many of these 17-year-old, 18-year-old influencers on social media that are talking about, healing and health, and they are so young with no experience of the contrast of health. Because it's not possible to truly understand and appreciate a person's journey unless you've walked a similar path. I don't believe. You embody a different frequency when you have walked a path before that you're helping other people with. And so I now work with something called high frequency health. Now, high frequency health is, everybody sort of has an understanding, I guess, now of what frequency is. Frequency is the vibrational essence of your body. We're all made of energy, mostly energy, not as much matter as we think. And our body is filled with light. So light and energy is what makes us who we are. So I am working with people on creating the highest frequency in their body. Because when you have a high frequency body, you are not able to hold disease and illness anymore. So the cells of the body are so high vibrating, so high frequency, that disease is almost, the pattern of it can come, but it's eliminated because the body cannot hold a frequency of disease at the same time it holds a frequency of high of health. So that is what I'm doing now. Helping create high frequency bodies. I call it high frequency health, and that's going from the cell, from the internal to the out. So we work from the cell outward. Cellular health is the most important part of this work. And then vibrational medicine, metaphysical medicine are also involved. So we have to look at people's history, their trauma, the way they grew up, the family that they come from, the genetic line. Although the genetic line is only 5% of our health. You are not your family. You are not your lineage. You can be if you choose to be, but that's where epigenetics comes in. the lifestyle and the environment that you live are much more important than the genes that you have, because the lifestyle and the environment can turn on the genes and make them manifest. But if you live a lifestyle and have an environment that doesn't cultivate those genetic expressions, you won't have them. So suffice to say, what I do is really unique. It's using many modalities, not just the regenerative health practices, which is all about detox, fasting, creating a healthy, clean terrain inside the body so that the body can't hold disease anymore. It's also the vibrational medicine. It's also the emotional medicine. I go very deep into archetypes and the psychology and the lots of things. Anyway, this today was just more about telling you a little bit about how I am a great example of healing myself. So what I do with others is what I did for myself. And also I've walked the path and I know how to help people through any and all disease. And if you have any questions, or if you are interested in regenerating your body without the interaction, without using Western medicine, if you're interested in a holistic approach, which includes iridology and herbal medicine and detox and fasting and looking at the root cause of your illness so that you can once and for all get rid of it so that it doesn't come back, please be in touch.